You're listening to Relating with Jen Funk, where we are getting honest about the relationships that matter most. If you want stronger, more connected relationships with the people you love, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Well, hello and welcome to episode 2 of Relating with Jen Funk. I'm Jen, your relationship coach and host. And today we are talking about the empty nest phase of life and the impact it has on us and our relationships. Now, before we even get started, let's just call it out. Empty nest. Who came up with that? I don't know if you guys know Mel Robbins, but I love her. I love her podcast. I love how she tells her listeners, I believe in you and your ability to create a better life. And I love that. And I share that with you all because I believe in your ability to create better relationships. Starting with this empty phase period of life that she says, forget that. Empty nest, anything with empty has this like negative connotation to it, right? So empty nest, empty plate, empty bank account. I mean, what is empty that is good, right? So she came up with this phrase that we're going to now call ourselves bird launchers. And I love that because I have launched 2 baby birds out of the nest and I have 1 more at home. But just to let you know, by the end of this episode today, I'm going to make sure that you have 5 action steps to take you through this period of life in the healthiest way possible for you, for your kids, for your marriage. And you'll learn about me that every episode of Relating will always have action steps. I strongly believe that awareness is important, but awareness plus action is what actually creates change in our lives. So I will always be giving you action steps. And in this second episode, it is no different. You will have 5 action steps by the end of this episode. So let's get started. Again, I've launched 2 birds into the world. My oldest daughter, Allie, is in Williamsburg, Virginia. We just moved her there to start her first year as a graduate student at William and Mary. Williamsburg is only an hour away, but it is the first time that she's lived away from home. So that's definitely an adjustment. And then my son is at Virginia Tech. My son's name is Kalen. So he's a junior at Virginia Tech. That's a little farther away. It's a little over 3 hours away, so we don't see him as often. And then, as I said, my youngest, Natalie, is a senior in high school, so we have her around for 1 more year. And maybe this period of time is your first launch. You're launching your first baby bird. Maybe it's your last, or maybe you are just experiencing anticipatory grief, knowing that this sweet time is going to come to an end very soon. I know when my kids were little, I remember looking at them like as little toddlers and thinking, who are you going to be in the world? Who is this little precious thing going to grow up to be? Like, what's the personality going to be like? And what's going to matter to this child? And all of a sudden, here we are in the blink of an eye, and now we see who they've become and they're ready to go out and take on the world. It's crazy. I mean, this is like some cruel reality, right? That we go from this transition of these children needing us for every single thing to keep them alive to all of a sudden being like, see you, mom, and we're not needed anymore. It's a huge change in our lives, and change always equals loss. I mean, certainly you might be moving on to something wonderful, but you're also, with every change, you're leaving something behind, and every loss needs grieving. And I know that sounds a little dramatic, but it's not. It's the truth. So if you have been dropping tears in the Target this summer while you were buying the twin sheets XL size for dorm rooms, or if you're crying in the car after drop off or just crying for apparently no reason, it's just evidence of the greatest love. And, the quiet in the house now, the closed doors of their bedroom that we hurry past, of course that hurts. And of course we long for them, but that emotion does not mean it's a weakness. It doesn't mean anything other than we have experienced, like I said, the greatest love and the deepest connection with our kids, which is pretty awesome. So as I promised, we are going to go over 5 action steps to help you through this season. And we'll start with the first one. You've got to feel it. You got to feel all the feels. Don't rush through them. Don't try to numb them out. There's different strategies that you can try. Some that I would suggest when it really hurts is start by doing journaling each day. I like to journal. I'm not really good at it because it's hard for me to stay consistent with it. But I do know that there's something very freeing about getting your feelings out on paper. And maybe you can start with a prompt that just says, "Today, grief feels like blank." Now, if you're not a journaler or that feels like too much to commit to, maybe just taking some time to go sit out on your porch with a cup of coffee and just be in the feelings. Let the tears fall if they will, or go and take a walk and again, just be, don't listen to music, just be with your thoughts, be with the emotion of it all, be with the sadness, and just let that move through you. Another option might be yoga or meditation if you've never tried that, or just simply text a friend or meet a friend and say, "Hey, do you have 10 minutes that I can just be sad with you?" I mean, it helps to know that we are not alone in these feelings. Reach out to other friends that are going through it. I know when I dropped Kalen off this last time, and again, you'd think I'd be a pro. I mean, the kid's a junior and he's come home and gone back to school, but inevitably, every time I reach for that last hug around his neck, I'm going to start crying. It's just the way that I am. So it was no different when I dropped him off several weeks ago to get back to school. And as I reached up for that hug, obviously I was crying. And Casey mentioned something like, "Oh, here we go." Or it wasn't anything derogatory. It was just noting because all of Kaylin's friends were like standing around. So he was kind of trying to make light of it. And one of Kaylin's sweet friends was like, "Oh, it's okay. My mom did the same thing." And I immediately felt so much better to know that there was another mom in the world that's dropped off her junior. Again, we're not rookies at this, but she's still crying too. So there's something powerful about connecting with other people that are in the same stage of life or who have already gone through it. And the other point that I want to share is if you don't experience these feelings, if you just try to make yourself busy or have an extra glass of wine or, whatever it is to try not to feel your feelings, you're just going to be shoving them down, all the pain and the sorrow, and it's going to come out. It always does. And it's not going to come out probably in an appropriate way. We might be irritable. We might have a big reaction to a small thing. We might be just grumpy and not great to be around because we're trying to manage all of these difficult feelings inside that just need to be expressed. So that is step number one. Feel all the feelings so that you can move through them. All right, let's move on to step number two. Respect your boundaries with your kids, whether they've headed off to college or they have moved out to start a new job or a new adventure in another city, whatever it is that they're leaving your home and you're feeling sadness over it. Don't over text or call your children just to manage your feelings. They are also going through adjustments. If they're off to college, they're managing new classes, they're managing new roommates. And we know how like navigating new roommates, especially, well, I was going to say, especially if you don't know them, but sometimes when you do, there's a lot to work out as roommates and they have new life responsibilities. They're on their own often for the first time. So don't burden them with your difficult feelings. Give them some freedom. Take those heavier emotions to your spouse or your friends, or even find a counselor or a coach to help you process through those feelings if you're having trouble. I would always, when you want to reach out to your kid, I'd always sort of process it through the lens of, am I reaching out to them because they need me or because I need them? And let that be your guide when you're reaching out to your kids. Again, not saying don't reach out with love. It's not our job to be all stoic and all of that, but it is our job to be responsible for our feelings. So step number three, the next thing is to find something to look forward to. This is so important. Putting something on the calendar gives us hope for the future, hope for fun. Maybe it's hope for connection with your partner. I remember going through a difficult time of grief. We're coming up on 4 years ago now that my mom passed. And I remember just coming out of that period of time. It had been several months, even almost a year, but still certainly feeling it. And I remember just looking at Casey and thinking, I just feel sad and lost. And like, I just feel like I don't have anything to look forward to. And he immediately said, "Oh, let's get some things on the calendar. We can fix that." And we sat down, looked at the calendar, picked a weekend to go away. I think we went away to St. Michael's for the weekend, just had a great time, just the two of us. And that's such an easy fix. But boy, it really changed everything for me because I could go through the day and maybe I was feeling sad, but I'd be like, oh, I can't wait. We're in a couple weeks, we're going to go to St. Michael's and I'll have time to connect with Casey. And, it really helps. So I just encourage you, maybe it's not a weekend trip. Maybe that's not in the cards or feasible for you, but I always love that. But you can also register for a class, try an art class or a photography class. Or, I mean, I took up tennis in my late 40s. That was a new endeavor for me that I just fell in love with. Such a great thing in my life. So it's not too late to take up a new sport. Or if you like to read, maybe start a book club with your friends or your neighbors, or get a game night, a bunko night going. Something like that in your neighborhood can be fun and something to look forward to every month. Just look at your calendar and think, what small joy can I schedule for myself this week? What can I put on the calendar that will bring me joy just this week? And sit down on Sundays and do it every week. And if you are listening to me right now and you're thinking, Jen, I don't even know what I enjoy anymore, I understand that. I know after, this point in time when I've been a stay-at-home mom for so long, and then all of a sudden I get free time back when the kids go to school, and you're like, gosh, who am I? Who am I outside of being a mom? Like, I don't even know what I enjoy anymore. So I totally relate to that. And if that is you, I encourage you to sit down and make a list of what I used to want to do, but I didn't have time for because I was raising my kids. I mean, there's a million things. I know for myself, I used to say, oh, I really like to get into a regular gym routine, but I just don't have enough time for it. Okay, well, now's the time. Now you can schedule a gym routine if that's been a priority for you. Or again, like I said, maybe it's taking a dance class, or how about getting those old photo books done of all the family vacations, right? That was always something I intended to do and still have yet to do. Or what about scheduling like walks with your friends? There's never enough time to catch up with your friends, and maybe it's like, hey, meet me at the park at 9 a.m. and we can catch up on each other's lives and kids and all the things. So just have something on the calendar to look forward to. It can really make a difference. Now, step number 4 is how to support your spouse going through this period of time, or maybe even support your other kids that are left at home but have had a sibling launch, because that can be difficult for them as well. The most important thing is to remember to be compassionate. People grieve differently. Like I said, some just try to stay busy and kind of muscle through. The other one might be in tears on the couch all the time. We have to respect each other's differences when it comes to grief and show compassion and empathy for that. For instance, that time I was saying we dropped off Kaylin not that long ago, I always cry after we said goodbye, and his friend made that sweet comment about his mom doing the same thing. We got in the car and we had a 3-hour drive to get home. And for the good first part of it, Casey and I just rode in silence. I think Casey knows me well enough to know that I was hurting and I was trying to process through that emotion. I didn't need to talk about it. And I don't think he said a word to me, but he did reach over and just held my hand. And so we drove down the interstate with Casey just holding my hand and squeezing it a couple times. And that was communicating to me that he understood that I was hurting, and he was letting me know, hey, I'm here, and I understand, I get it. That little gestures like that can mean so much when one is grieving harder or grieving differently than the other one. So maybe a question you can ask yourself is, how can I make some space for how my spouse processes without judgment? Casey wasn't crying, but I don't doubt that he's also going to miss our son. So I don't have any judgment around that. I just need to cry a little bit more about it. I think that's pretty typical of the differences between moms and dads, at least in our family it is. But another thing too is to think about what is something that your spouse can do for you to help you in your grief if you're the one who is having the harder time. Maybe it's to ask for extra hugs, or just, hey, can you hold me on the couch for a few minutes tonight while I'm feeling sad? It could be anything like that. And that actually brings me to something that I believe in my whole heart, and this leads us into step 5, which is reconnect with your partner. And what I believe wholeheartedly is putting your marriage first at any stage of life isn't selfish. And it is one of the greatest gifts that we can give to our kids, because when they see love and mutual respect and how to repair after conflicts, get in a bad fight, but then maybe not a bad fight, but I don't know if you want to let your kids see that, but get in a fight and then see you work through it, right? See you compromise and see you make up. All of that, modeling teamwork, when they see all that at home, it gives them stability and confidence. It frees them to live their lives without worrying about us being lonely at home or feeling guilty for leaving. It's so important because think about it. What do you want your kids to learn about love in your home? What do you want to teach them about what marriage looks like and how we love each other? That's all modeled in the home before your children leave. So it is not selfish to make that relationship the priority and put that first. Now, if you have been investing in your marriage all this time while your kids have been home, which is amazing and awesome, and I hope that's true, now that your kids are launching, this is the time to really lean in, protect those date nights, plan for fun, deepen your intimacy, dream out loud, ask each other, what do we want this next chapter to look like? What do we want to accomplish? What do we want to do with our time? What are our new goals to create? If you haven't been investing, however, and all of a sudden this time feels really scary and really dark because the kids are gone and now you're sitting across from your spouse and maybe you're wondering, oh my gosh, how did we get here? And do I even want to still be here? That's not uncommon, unfortunately. I know there's a lot of people that are in that situation. And I want you to know A, you're not alone. B, there are help and resources out there. And C, you can create change in your marriage. You can start small. For instance, if you typically get out of bed and just roll over and get ready and go downstairs and maybe wave goodbye as you're heading out the door, maybe instead of just getting out of bed quickly, maybe you linger, maybe you roll over and snuggle with your spouse for a minute, or maybe if that feels too much at the stage that you're in, maybe just rolling over and giving your spouse a quick kiss on the head or on the shoulder, just saying good morning and then getting out of bed. Or maybe you schedule just a couple days a week, maybe Monday and Friday morning, why don't we have coffee together before we both go to work? Or maybe it is scheduling like short walks. Maybe it's, hey, after dinner tonight, maybe we can take a walk. Or hey, maybe on Wednesday nights, that'll be our thing. We'll take a walk after dinner and, ask each other what's exciting for you right now? What's something that you'd love to try? Little small things have big effects, but you've got to start somewhere. So make some decisions about what small things you can start with, because it's really a time that you want to build intimacy. When we feel disconnected from our spouse, that's what it's about. We don't feel emotionally connected anymore. But really, there's three types of intimacy: emotional, physical, and spiritual intimacy. And you want to be building all of them. Your emotional intimacy, like I said, that comes about by intentional conversations, not just talking about logistics or talks about what the kids are doing. I suggested a walk after dinner because sometimes talking side by side instead of looking each other straight in the eye makes it a little bit easier to talk about hard subjects. I don't know if you guys ever experienced that with your kids, but they're so chatty in the car. And I think it's because, you're side by side, you're not staring right at them. And I think it's the same. It's just human nature. It's the same with spouses. Walking side by side might be easier for you to bring up difficult conversations or hard things. So try that as an opportunity to build that emotional connection. Like I said, ask those questions. Like, hey, what's important to you right now at this phase in life? Another aspect of intimacy is physical intimacy. For some, this might be the first time ever that you can have sex in the house without worrying about your kids walking in. I mean, take advantage of that, right? That's pretty unique and different for some people. So that aspect is so important. And with kids out of the house, you've got a little bit more freedom to explore each other in that way. Another aspect is spiritual intimacy. Some people meditate or maybe praying. Something that you can do together would be really special. Or maybe it's finding a faith community if that's something that you both would be interested in. Now would be a good time to do that. Or maybe it's just read a really interesting book together that makes you think about bigger things and connect in a more spiritual level. You could also just be aware that every day is an opportunity. So maybe you wake up in the morning and ask yourself, What's one way that I can connect with my partner today? What would be one thing I could do to move towards them? So those are our 5 steps. And I just want to remind you guys that, pride and heartache can exist at the same time. They're not an either or, but more like a both and. So they can both exist at the same time. And I just encourage you to look at this season of life not as an ending, but as a new chapter to write. It's a new opportunity. It's certainly not the end of the book for any of us. It really is a new opportunity, but you have to be intentional with this time. You have to be willing to create and design what this new season is going to look like. It's up to you to create something that is beautiful and that fills you up. It's not empty. It can be very full and rich if you're intentional about it. And then again, it has a ripple effect because when our kids see us thriving, then they feel free to do the same. So to recap, again, we had 5 steps. We're going to feel all the feelings. We are going to respect our children's boundaries. We're going to plan something to look forward to, support our spouses, our partners, and our other siblings with compassion. And we're going to take the time to reconnect with our partner. These 5 steps will carry us through the quiet of the season and into a joyful, connected future. So if you are feeling stuck, I will also say this is what I do as a relationship coach. There are resources out there, so please reach out to me or someone else if you need additional support with this. Because one day the kids are going to leave. It's what we raise them to do. And what's left is the marriage that you built. I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me on Relating with Jen Funk. To find out how we can work together and get free resources to strengthen your relationships, head to jenfunkcoaching.com and sign up for my newsletter. Till then, stay connected, stay encouraged, and I'll see you next week.